Good afternoon, my beautiful babes and babettes. I am your resident active advocate. I'm getting tired of this project, and we only have 2 more episodes to go. Thank God. This one I'm going to try to keep to the bare minimum of how much I can bitch about this same character in the same way over and over again. But Edward, sweetheart, we need to talk. Because as I keep saying, if he had initially stayed away from her, none of this would be an issue. Okay, so Breaking Dawn, Edward issues. Oh my god. Issue number 1, trying to force his wife into having content warning, into having an abortion, and the one and only time she ever sticks up to him is about this one issue, and it's great. I know that Stephanie Meyer is probably pro-life because just coming out of the Mormon ethos, that might be the general stance. I don't know for sure, though. Okay, I was not brought up Mormon, and you can't judge one Mormon by others, so no point in trying. But Edward, honey, you're the one who did this because, again, as I said yesterday, you didn't use protection. And, again, you didn't stay away from her, sweetheart. I know you're a book and movie character, but you gotta listen to me here. So that's obvious issue number 1. Edward does not use protection, and then he is shocked at Bella's pregnancy and tries to force her to abort it. Have fun with that, because she actually grew a spine! Yay! And she has autonomy! Yay! But as I said yesterday, in the meta-narrative, her autonomy comes really only out of her decision to be a mother. And I don't really appreciate that. I think that's sort of an inverse kind of feminism. With feminism itself, okay, if you are like Rosalie and you want to be a mother and you want to stay home and make cookies and, just be there for your kids throughout their whole life, basically until they reach adulthood, that's fine. Feminism, by the way, for anyone who is not aware of this, does say that, yes, that is fine. The whole point of feminism is to give people the choice, either to be the more traditionalist stay-at-home mother or to go out and get a job, and the whole idea of feminism is to bring down these notions that women belong here, men belong here, no one else in between exists. I have a problem with that one. And we will stay here, you will stay here, and, that is how the world must be maintained. No. Here's the thing, too. Feminism is also very good for men, like people who are cisgendered men. And the whole reason why feminism is good for them is because it gives them the choice to be stay-at-home fathers as well, which was not a traditional role for men to take on. I know of a self-professed, philosopher who, I'm not his biggest fan, but he is a stay-at-home father who hates feminism. Bit of a contradiction he's got going on there, but let's move on from that. The problem I have with Edward here is that, as usual, he does not actually take Bella's needs, her real needs, and her real desires into account, attempts to make decisions for her, and is freaked out when they backfire. Because before Renesmee is born, his relationship with Bella is kind of on the rocks, because they are very much at odds about the decision of whether to keep Renesmee or not. And obviously, by the fact that I am naming her, that Bella did keep the baby, and that was her decision, not Edward's. And she does survive the pregnancy, which was Edward's doing. Want to talk about this part. It's a treaty violation for any of the Cullens to turn any human into a vampire. It doesn't matter where on the globe it occurs. Jacob even says to him, it doesn't matter if it's her or anyone else. Like, you cannot turn anyone. And Edward just says, okay, you know what? I want her in my life. So, Jacob, as the rightful head of the shapeshifter pack, you are the only one who can give me permission to violate the treaty. But as I said yesterday, and I had said, put a pin in this, I wanted to return to this. He says to Jacob, you know I will do it anyway. But it would be so much easier if I had your permission, right? Because then the rest of the pack can't go after Edward for having done this thing. This is an in-book example of real-world treaty violations, okay? Many different circumstances, usually with the whites who did not honor the treaties that they made with Indigenous peoples in Canada and America. And among other things, the residential school system, quotation marks, was a violation of God's only know how many treaties. That was not and is not a good situation. And the reason why I want this project to be over with is because I want to start talking about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which I have not read in full as of yet, but I imagine that it addresses this kind of thing. So Jacob does give Edward permission, but it's really only nominal because Edward did not care whether he got permission anyway. That, to me, speaks of absolute arrogance on Edward's part. It also speaks of absolute privilege on Edward's part. You know how throughout the entire series, there's always been an emphasis on Edward's perfect white, marble white skin, you know? Edward and his family, if you're going into metatextual stuff here, okay? Edward and his family are like the ultimate white people, okay? They're very powerful. They have a lot of money. They are very attractive, and they're all shockingly white. All right, just wow. And they are living on stolen indigenous lands, regardless, by the way, of whether they are on La Push or not. Because, like, La Push is a reserve, or I think they're called reservations, actually, in America. But I'd have to look into that. In Canada, they're called reserves. But it is a real place in the real world. And the actual Quileute people have had problems with their environment because of encroaching seas, because of global warming. Looking at you, white American capitalism. They're not the only ones, but let's face it, it's kind of bad, you know, for fossil fuels and the Ford Motor Company and General Motors and all these things that they outsource to other parts of the world so that they don't have to pay for it. So Edward, to me, just displays the ultimate form of white privilege by saying, yeah, we have this agreement, I know, and it kind of works for you, I guess, and it kind of works for us, I guess, but really we don't need to honor that agreement in any given way because I want my wife to be in my life. And if you try to stand in the way of that, I'm just going to go around you anyway because I don't actually care about your opinion. And I don't actually care about honoring the original agreement that was made between my people and your people. This is a real world issue. And as I say, I will get into talking about that when I get into the Truth and Reconciliation Commission next week. Next week can't come soon enough. So, yeah, Edward, with the whole pregnancy and abortion thing, Edward with Jacob, basically treating him like a subsidiary other. Also, though, content warning coming up about this one, too. Edward offering Bella to Jacob in order for Bella to have his children. And this is not in the movie, this is only in the book, thank God. But he says to Jacob, if it's a baby she wants, then it is a baby she'll get. I don't want to hurt her now. But she can't have my baby. If she wants a baby, she can have a baby. She can have puppies if she wants them. Puppies, okay? It's not 100% guaranteed, for example, that the children would inherit the quiliate transformation DNA gene mutation thingy. For one thing. For another, this really strikes me, by the way, as a racial slur. Like, there are real world racial slurs that I'm not going to use for indigenous people. And this struck me as just needlessly and excruciatingly condescending, which is why I think it might be sort of a sub in racial slur that Edward is using against Jacob and Jacob's potential children here. Um, Basically, the real world equivalent of this would be to call them bastards, i.e., born out of wedlock. Because Edward and Bella are married, and he's offering his wife to another man, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting both on the racism front, and it's disgusting on the marital fidelity front. I mean, you're the one. Now I'm just turning into a nag, but you're the one who wanted to marry her in the first place. You made that a condition of you vampirizing her. Do you remember this? Like, I know I'm talking to a fake character here, right? But, like, okay, readers and viewers. Not viewers. This is not in the movie, thank God. But readers, you remember this? It was a condition of him turning her into a vampire that she would marry him. And now, in all regards, he's going back on his word. And it's 100% his fault that she is pregnant with his child. Like, for God's sake, at least use protection. Again, I know that Mormonism in general tends to be against the use of protection in, intercourse, but you're a vampire. You're a vampire. Just do it. It would be so much easier. In his defense, he did not know that a human could get pregnant with his child. But, by the way, let's talk about the biological issues with this. Rosalie's whole conceit, and I know that I feel like I'm going back and forth here a bit, but this is related, I promise. Rosalie's whole conceit is that she wants to be a mother, but she can't be because a vampire's body cannot change. Once they are frozen, they're done. They cannot grow any older, they cannot die of any natural cause, that kind of thing, right? And in Rosalie's case, too, a vampire cannot get pregnant. How is it exactly that Edward got Bella pregnant? That's logistical issue number one. Logistical issue number two is the whole immortality thing. I've never really understood this trope when it's being used in at least semi-realistic, at least takes place in the real world fiction. Because here's the thing, even if you can't die of old age, you're gonna die at some point. You're gonna die when the planet is immolated by the sun, at least, if the planet is not, gone before the sun starts expanding and going supernova. But that's several million or even billion years down the road. How long are these people going to live without any other life forms on Earth? They wouldn't be able to, and that's the whole logistic about immortality that I don't get. You can't use immortality in realistic or semi-realistic fiction. You can't, okay? But mind you, okay, you gotta take off your logic goggles and put on your, what's it called? The, not the rose-colored glasses, but, yeah, just basically ignore logic, sorry, is what I'm trying to say here. So, logistically, this relationship would not work anyway, but the whole fact that he would go back on his word to Bella, the whole fact that he didn't even consider the possibility that she could get pregnant by him, let's just say that's the rules of this world, whatever. And then he kind of hates her for it and hates himself for it, which he should, because again, not taking someone else's safety into account is going to backfire on you too, buddy, especially if you profess anyway to love them. Um, Once Bella is actually vampirized, though, I have fewer issues with Edward. It's just that his usual protective instinct is still there, even though he knows intellectually that she is at that point stronger than him and could break him in half like a brittle little twig if she wanted to. Um, which would be great, but anyway, I don't like Edward, okay? I really don't. Like, if I had to pick, I would say Team Jacob. I'm not a teenager, this is not my jam, but I will also explain to you tomorrow why I am actually Team Jacob, despite what we all know happens. Speaking of which, Edward is 100% okay with this. Kind of. Like, neither in the book nor in the movie is he happy about it, but number one, it ends the war between the vampires and the shapeshifters. Number two, he can see into Jacob's head and knows that Jacob doesn't have any ill intent. But basically, content warning, what Jacob is engaging in is a thing called grooming. Um, you This is really disgusting for me to talk about. I'm sorry, but basically you are heavily involved in the young life, in the emotional, mental development of the person you eventually want to sleep with. This is seen in, for heaven's sake, this is seen in Vladimir Nabokov. I don't know how many people in this audience have read Lolita. Go read Lolita. It's disturbing, but very good, but disturbing, okay? If you're old enough to read Lolita. Do not read Lolita if you are, say, under 16 years old. Just don't, okay? This is very adult content. Very adult content. But basically, what Humbert does in Lolita is kind of what Jacob does in Breaking Dawn. In Lolita, Nabokov has the decency to portray it as being as creepy as it is. In Breaking Dawn, however, Stephenie Meyer portrays it romantically, and that is bad, which is the reason why I have a problem with Edward not having a problem with this. However, tomorrow, when I talk about Jacob, I'm going to once again address the racialized, big time no-no that imprinting is, and the reason why it makes this story as just horrifically awful as it is. Because it's not the fault of the narrative that this story is bad. It is the fault of the meta narrative. What Stephenie Meyer is, either intentionally or otherwise, writing into this story specifically about Indigenous people. I do not know Stephenie Meyer, as I say. I don't know whether she's actually racist, but there's been a lot of speculation that she is. And I would not be surprised. I'm not going to call anyone out on a quality that they don't possess, but really, I would not be surprised when it comes specifically to Indigenous people. And I will address that tomorrow because I am so sick of talking about this book. I will make that as quick as possible, but basically, by the end of this book, Edward and Jacob have completely reconciled their relationship, even though, like, 50 pages before, they were still ready to kill one another. This does not sit well with me. The fact that what resolves their conflict is Jacob falling in love, no, with Edward's daughter. I'll get to that tomorrow, and I need to stop talking about this right now before my brain starts bleeding internally. Okay, so have fun with that cringe. If you think this was cringy, it's gonna be worse tomorrow. And then we'll be done. Read Lolita, not if you're under 16. Awesome. All right, see you tomorrow, my lovely, wonderful viewers. Mwah!